Welcome back to Season 6 of the Group Practice Accelerator podcast, brought to you by Polaris Healthcare Partners, where we leverage decades of healthcare and business experience to drive growth in successful group practices just like yours. If you're a healthcare entrepreneur and you're interested in building, scaling, or exiting your group practice, you've found not only the industry's leading resource for business education, but a team of trusted advisors dedicated to helping you achieve and exceed your goals. In short, the team at Polaris creates clarity, confidence, and results. I'm your host, Jamie Falash, and the Group Practice Accelerator podcast is on the air. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me again this week because I have an entrepreneurial story for you today, as well as some new resources to share. Now, I know as founders, you can really relate to that journey of getting a business up and running, and many of you have already done it and done it solo, which I know is challenging even in the best of circumstances. What starts as your dream, undoubtedly we know that proves to have a few more layers than you ever anticipated. And for many of you listening today, all of that took place while you were the principal creator of revenue. And for many of you, the dentist in the practice. And that's a lot to carry by anybody's standards. I would say that regardless of the type of healthcare business, I think that we can probably agree that being an entrepreneur is difficult at times, but it can also be one of the most rewarding experiences that you can choose for yourself. And if you've listened to any of the episodes where I've interviewed founders, you can certainly hear the pride that they all take in their work and what they bring to their communities. Well, today's guest is no different, and I know you'll enjoy hearing from him. I mean, he's kind of a big deal in the dental world, and he even has his own podcast called Hot Wings and Dental Things, which you have to go check out. 100% worth a watch. And when I say watch, you do have to watch it rather than listen to it because these episodes are very spicy and there are things going on in the midst of dental talk. And to be honest, I'm a little relieved that my hot sauce did not arrive on time to participate in public wing consumption. I just feel that's going to be not a good look for me. But anyway, please help me welcome friend and colleague Jay Hogan. He's an entrepreneur, he's an Army veteran, and he's the co-founder and VP of PerfectFit Ortho. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. That was maybe the best intro I've ever received. I might just record it and put it on a loop. So sometimes when people are yelling at me, I'll be like, well, listen to what Jamie said.
That's right. That's right. Listen to her. She knows what she's talking about. Sometimes. So yes, I've seen your show. It's not only entertaining to watch, but we get to learn about your guests. And it's actually a really good show. So to our audience, please go check out Hot Wings and Dental Things. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, thank you for the shout out. They better watch it soon because I don't know how much longer I can continue doing it. My stomach's starting to fight for its life.
Yeah, just pack your antacids, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We've had a couple of guests that when they show up, they have like a whole kit of one person had honey. They thought if they put it on their tongue ahead of time, it would help. And people bring Pepto-Bismol, change of clothes, you name it.
All right, you just made me all that much more relieved that I don't have hot sauce and wings in front of me. Some other time.
There you go.
For sure.
I love it.
So we were talking about the intro that you're an entrepreneur. And I admire this about you among the fact that you're a veteran. You manage this business as co-founder and VP, and that's PerfectFit Ortho, as we mentioned. But I want to talk about your entrepreneur story a little bit because our listeners can relate to that, like I said. So first of all, why ortho? What were you doing and seeing that made you say, I need to start a clear aligner company for general dentists?
I never would have thought I'd be sitting here talking about ortho. I started in dentistry in 2007, and it kind of just got into it by happenstance. I had a friend of mine who worked in dentistry, and I had just gotten back from Iraq. So I went to go see him and just hang out and found out he was there. So I went in and surprised him at his office. So we sit down and we start talking, and he said, I think this is something you would thrive in. So that's kind of where it started. I ended up in, general dentistry, specialty, de novo, Medicaid run facilities. And then I moved to Florida. I was working within an oral surgery group. They had a lot of different practices, but I was overseeing that operation. And a mutual friend hit me up one day and told me, hey, I've got an orthodontist I think you should meet. He's trying to do X, Y, and Z. He was trying to combine pediatric dentistry and ortho. So he and I started working together. And he had this idea in its infancy about what we do now at Perfect Fit. And to his credit, it took him probably 2 years to beat it into my head so that I could grasp it and understand it the way my mind works.
Mhm.
And then we decided to, kind of go full bore. So yeah, if you had told me, and the irony is this, my entire family has had ortho. I'm the one that needs it the most and still haven't done it. It's like a mechanic's car is always broken.
Ta-da, Jay.
It's so ironic, but yeah, but that's where I am now. It's been a very interesting ride.
I'll bet. I mean, it can be sort of a leap of faith when you get started, having been an entrepreneur myself. But somewhere early on, you had to believe that this was all scalable. I mean, there are a million other clear aligner options out there, as you know. What made you move forward with it?
I think we just identified, and I think maybe that's the key to all entrepreneurs, just finding a need and the solution. I know that's overly simplified, but when we realize that there are so many more general dentists in the United States than there are orthodontists, or in North America, or really the world,
Right.
and the clear aligner industry is not getting smaller. It
No.
has a compounded annual growth rate of like 30% year over year. It's going to be worth roughly $5 billion by 2032. There's a reason why Invisalign is the sponsor and host of the NFL. And it's not an altruistic sponsorship. It's because people want clear aligners.
Mhm.
General dentists want to offer it, but there's challenges, whether it's their ability to scale it in their own practice, their ability to make it profitable for themselves. And oftentimes it's just they don't know what they don't know. So they don't want to get themselves married to a patient when it comes to a clear aligner treatment, and things go south, and then they're turned off by it. So
Yeah.
our whole goal was, we instead of swimming against the current, we just decided we know general dentists want to do it. We're going to help them. And we don't try, we do. We're completely agnostic. We don't care what aligner a doctor wants to work with. We don't make them, and we never will. There's, over 30 aligner manufacturers. We are your virtual orthodontist. So that's kind of been our niche and what's made it work for not only mom and pops, but DSOs, small group practices, is because it's something they can scale easily. They're not, they don't have to make a lot of change management when it comes to the type of products that they're using. They can use
Definitely.
whatever they want. And that's been a win for us. Just not, don't fight it. There's a mindset of abundance and a mindset of scarcity. Where GPs are going to do it, pediatric dentists are going to do it. Great. We're going to try to help them do it the best they can.
Yeah, there's room for everyone. And I wanted to kind of go down a path with more of your entrepreneur story, but now actually this seems like a better spot to talk about what you just said. So Perfect Fit Ortho is virtual. Tell our audience
Mhm.
what that means.
Yeah, it's shocking to me that we, both of us right now, in the next probably 20 minutes, could open up our own tabs, could order a car sight unseen, have it delivered to our house, sign the paperwork, and it's ours.
Absolutely.
So if we think that in healthcare that we don't get to a point where we meet patients where they are, that's naive to think.
Yeah,
Smile Direct Club kind of started the whole thing, right? That
they
trying to
did.
meet patients where they are, and it
Yeah.
was an absolute disaster.
Mhm.
And the reason it was is because it was not doctor driven. They were depending on patients to take their own impressions. These patients weren't getting cleared before treatment, and then they weren't being tracked. So for us, that virtual aspect is we allow doctors to get consults in real time. So when they have their own patient in their own practice that they're already treating, and they think they're an ortho candidate, they can send us some quick records, and we tell them on the spot if that patient is a candidate, how long it will take, what'll be involved, and if the doctor should even do it. So they can do that risk free, day in and day out, every hygiene appointment, every new patient exam. And if the patient decides to move forward, then we work in concert with whatever aligner they want to use to do all the designing and the staging. And every single one of those is done by an orthodontist on our team. So then that doctor can pick up the phone, can get on a Zoom call and ask the doctor, our orthodontist, questions about the case, make adjustments. So they know they have an orthodontist beside them the whole time, but they're not paying them buku bucks to have their own office and twiddle their thumbs for, 2 days a week and sit there and treat patients the other three. It's when you need them.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important distinction to make when we say it's virtual, that it's still backed by orthodontists. It's still
Yeah.
using your dentist. So, yeah, Smile Direct Club, interesting. I'm going to call that an experiment. And story, I did it myself on purpose as a hygienist because I was so infuriated by the fact that you could just mail things in. So I did. So I did actually with a couple other people in the practice because I just wanted to see what this was about. So they,
You know, it's crazy you say that. My partner, Dr. Abramowitz, our lead
yeah,
orthodontist, he did it too.
there
He
probably
did it.
were a lot of us. We were so skeptical, and with good reason. I took my own impressions, and granted, I was a dental assistant before. Even as a hygienist, you take impressions from time to time. This is something
Yeah.
that it is a skill, but I did a good job. I thought I
Hmm.
looked at this, mailed them in. My aligners never fit. Went back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I gave up. But if that's the consumer, not the patient experience, that's a consumer experience.
There you go. That's the
Really
difference.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not patients, they're
Yep.
consumer. And there was no protection there. So that's my 2 cents on that. But anyway, I'm glad we made the distinction before I go
Yeah. We're yeah,
down.
and that's a great point. We're not direct to consumer, and we never will be. Right. Our client is the general dentist. That's it.
Yeah, end of story. Do you find that docs are skeptical? Do you have to explain all that at length? Like, what's trust look like initially? I assume that disappears really quickly once they're
It
used,
does.
but I
It's
have to.
surprising that, at least in the space that we currently exist in, over 80% of the doctors that find us sign up with us. For us, it's really a matter of it's a very interesting space. And I think right now for us, it's just a matter of e- explaining the concept. Once doctors understand the concept of the service that we offer,
Mhm.
um, it makes sense. It resonates, because you have some doctors or clients that say, "Oh, I do clear aligners now. I don't need any help." And we ask, okay, what percentage of your patients do you still refer out, and which percent of those patients do you do? Because if they're already doing clear aligners to some degree, that makes our job easier. That means they're comfortable putting their feet in the pool. And if
Yeah.
they're in the pool already, we can take them out, towards the deeper end. If they're afraid to get in the water, we'll put some floaties on them and get them in. That's kind of the concept of it. So it works for everyone, and it just works for them a little bit differently. It's really just dependent, and because we're agnostic, it allows us to be incredibly flexible, as far as the workflows that are specific to certain DSOs or certain group practices compared to a doctor who just has one practice or maybe one on this side of town and the other side. So we're not overly rigid with how the process works. I will tell you, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I'm not going to. I don't know what this makes any sense or not. My dad used to say all the time, and he is country. I apologize. He would say, "I'm not going to pee on your head and tell you it's raining." I don't. I still understand what that necessarily means, but we've learned a lot over the years as to how to make this marketable, how to make it work best for the end user. Because when you live in the ortho world every day, all day, that's different than your GP. When I go and do site visits at doctors' practices, it's like, oh yeah, I also, sometimes I lose sight of that they're perio charting, they're prepping for crowns, they're extracting teeth, they're doing dentures, they're doing this and the other. They don't wake up every moment of every day thinking ortho, ortho, ortho. So that's
Wait,
been very helpful for us.
you have to change that. Everything should be about ortho, Jay, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, you mentioned a minute ago the demand for clear
Mhm.
aligners from patients. Do you feel those are being met? And why or why not?
Yeah, I think they are. Well, I mean, more holistically speaking, I would say no, just in the sense of access to care. But I think that's a problem across healthcare and
Yeah,
dentistry across the board.
fair point.
Um, Too many patients are being marketed to by clear aligner companies like Invisalign or SureSmile or ClearCorrect or whomever, and and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I feel like oftentimes patients only think about ortho as it relates to aesthetics,
Of course.
um, and they don't understand all of the health benefits that come with it, and how their lives can improve based on ortho treatment. My neighbor across the street, I see him probably 2 or 3 times a week. We're hanging out, and he always asks me about perfect fit. And he's mid 50s, and he says, "Well, my teeth are fine. I've never worried about. I don't care how they look. It's great." I said, "That's fine." Man. I asked his wife, "Well, what's it like to sleep beside him in bed every night?" And she's like, half the week I send him to the spare bedroom because he snores. His mouth's open all the time. He's this, he's that, and the other. And I got him to understand, like, it's not just great if your teeth are crooked and you're fine with that. That's fine. But think about your occlusion. Think about your ability to sleep at night, the way that you breathe. your ability to keep your teeth clean easily, right? All those type of things that people don't think about. So I think I just went on a little bit of a rant there, but I think that their patients are being talked to about it a ton. I don't think they're being I don't think they're getting the right messaging all the time.
I think you're right. And based on my own clinical experience, I mean, outside of the whole business side, I think people come into practice and it's all about your appearance, right? We look in the mirror. You and I are doing this via Zoom. I mean, not everything is still via Zoom, but there was a time when everything we did was on camera. So you have a really good chance to get up in the camera and examine
Yep.
how you look, right?
Yep.
And nitpick yourself about it. So I think that really was amplified, especially with, when things were as they were with the pandemic. Uh,
Hmm.
and there was always a demand for this because generally we care about how we look, but the functionality is really what we miss because
Yeah.
often people don't care about the functionality. And you mentioning all the snoring and it made me really glad to sleep alone at night. But I'm, when you can't breathe and you're snoring, your body's not getting rest. And we don't even need to spend 3 hours talking about what that does to your brain in terms of dementia, what it does to your body in terms of your physical condition. People that
Yeah.
sleep well are healthy people.
Yep.
So, and that's just tip of the iceberg. And there are so many other functional things that we could talk about too.
Yeah.
But patients just don't consider that. And I think we do them a disservice when we don't at least explain the highlights.
That's you're hitting the nail on the head. We try to tell our clients, we're not telling you every case is for you. We're
Yeah.
not telling you should do every case, but we are telling you it's not unrealistic to expect you as the doctor to have conversations with your patients. Even if they don't start treatment with you and you still end up referring them somewhere, now they're a better educated patient who's
Yeah.
going to be a better referral to whatever orthodontist you send them to and will hopefully at least understand the reason for the season. Ortho isn't just for kids. It's for, it's for everyone who needs it. And the ADA states that, roughly 80% of the population could benefit from some form of treatment. It's crazy to not talk about it.
80%. Gosh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. Yep.
So, if I'm a GP and we're looking at it from that perspective, why do you think they struggle to implement ortho in their practices? What's that about?
I think it's twofold. I think um, part of it is time as it relates to cost. You don't, if you're seeing your patients, if you have a clear aligner patient that you're doing, and even if it's just 9 months and you're seeing them 9 times for 30 minutes, you start extrapolating out what is my chair hour worth?
Uh-huh.
What is the, diminishing returns? God forbid I have an associate, but now I've got to pay them a certain percentage of it. I have this lab bill to pay on top of it. It, and then worst case scenario, something goes wrong or the patient needs refinements or the teeth aren't moving or this, that, and the other. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I think that steers a lot of doctors away from it. I think the benefit that a company like us provides is they can feel more confident with what they're being told. They're not necessarily dependent on a warehouse of lab technicians that use protocols that some orthodontist designs for that aligner company, and that's a one size fits all. And then we monitor their patients remotely. So these patients get seen by us and them, the GP, if they choose to, every week. But they're only coming into the practice when it's absolutely necessary. So
Yeah.
you can have a patient that may be in treatment for 12, 15 months, that outside of your 6 month recalls, you may only see at bond, an IPR appointment, and then when it's time for debond. And then now ortho becomes arguably the most profitable thing they do from a chair hour perspective in their practice. But I also get it. Back in the day, many moons ago, I had a couple practices and a lot of it was prof removable. And you had to be built a little different for that because once you put that denture in that patient's mouth, you guys are married
Yeah.
forever. Um, and the same kind of thing applies with ortho. Might not be forever, but as long as they're in treatment. And then you get to a point where you think, we had a group that we met with once and I told them, we would love nothing more than to work with you. But based on all the data and everything you told us, if you decide not to, that's fine. My recommendation would be if you decide not to work with us, just stop doing it. Just refer it all out because you are seeing these patients so much. You're paying X, you're charging them Y. By month 7, you're losing money. You might as well just stop.
killing that chair utilization rate that is so critical. Like, you have to keep that high. And I'll tell you what, remote monitoring is one of the most magical things that has hit the ortho industry or dental industry in a long time. My son had that, and I'll tell you what, it saved me as a parent so much time away from my own schedule, running him back and forth. Like I said, setting aside the whole chair utilization rate that we have to consider for profitability.
Yeah. Yeah. And it keeps your patients more entwined into your practice as a dental dentist
Yeah.
because we're constantly sending doctors notifications says, hey, looks Jamie may have a tooth fracture. She might be developing a cavity here. She may you might we'd recommend you take her from 6 months to 3 month recall because she's doing X, Y, or Z. Your patients are just more in tune with their treatment and it's on their time. We do a lot of virtual consults for new patients when they're at home, and our golden hour is between 8:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Eastern
Really?
is when we get the most virtual consults that are
Yeah.
patients at home looking to find out how long they'll have to be in treatment and this, that, and the other. And it makes total sense. You work all day, you come home, whether you're single or married, divorced, kids, no kids, dogs, you're going to try to live a little bit of a life. And then by the time 9 or 10 o'clock, you're starting to wind down. Maybe you're checking emails, paying bills. That's when these things kind of happen. That's one of those we have to meet patients where they are.
Yeah.
The
That's
days of thinking you can be open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5 and Wednesdays you're open till 3, that it's just not gonna work. I mean,
no.
it probably does for some of the listeners out there, and for them, it's pure jealousy and hate. That's all it is. I'm being very jealous.
Yeah, we're just
But
being
for the
jealous.
majority, the game has changed a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely the whole landscape of people's demands and work time, and it really just it's changed the whole face of what office hours look like for a lot of people. That's not everybody.
Right.
Uh, hey, you mentioned group practice, which, as you know, that's the majority of our audience here. We're Group Practice Accelerator. Let's look at that for a minute. So, what are DSOs getting wrong when they try to do this? Because they're trying to implement clear aligners into their locations as well. What are you seeing out there?
I think what they're getting wrong is, there's a certain amount of hubris that comes from the group practice, the DSO ecosystem.
Mhm.
And find me on LinkedIn and come at me if you don't like this. But I'm telling you, this is what I've seen.
Yeah,
Like, know what you're good at and know what you're not. I mean, at the end of the day, that's it.
it is.
Um, I think you have to find things that work, find things that are scalable, find things that you can duplicate and replicate, and then offload that. I know, and we talk about margin compression all the time. We talk about increasing top line revenue, how it affects EBITDA, the whole kit and caboodle. I get it, but find what your bread and butter is and what you can control and keep in house, and then utilize partners that will make your life easier. That's really the end of the day. And we have learned that it only works for us if it is more of a partnership,
Yeah.
right? We have to be able to communicate effectively because we're not successful unless the practice is successful. But sometimes the practice gets in their own way, and they have to be able to say, like, I don't go to the optometrist and tell them how to write my prescription for contacts.
Yeah.
I don't go to a steakhouse and tell the chef how long to cook my like they're the professional for a reason. Let them do their job as part of it, but also having that congruence and understanding, hey, is this the right partner for us for our PMS software or this or that or the other? Bet them, but then let them do their job. I don't know if I felt like I got that fired me up a little bit, but that's what they get wrong. DSOs try to control or think they can do everything, and they can do a lot of things incredibly well.
Yes.
Find other people to do the other things well for you, and it's a win-win-win.
Gosh, it's one of the reasons that Polaris exists. We preach, so you're preaching to the choir here, Jay. Use resources, use experts, and that's why I wanted to have you on today, and that's why all of our guests come on here because we want to provide advice, resources, all of those things so that groups can grow in the most efficient way. When you get out of your lane, I'll say, on things that maybe you haven't done before or you haven't listened to the experience of mentors, other thought leaders in our space or advisors, it's really easy to go off the rails in terms
Yeah.
of patient flow, profitability, operations, all of that. So, as a company that advises on sell side and how to get maximum value from that using partnerships, strategic consulting, on and on, we always recommend that you use mentors and resources to get where you need to go. You don't have to go it alone. Makes zero sense.
Yeah.
And when we have resources like you in the industry, why would we not use them? Why? So,
Yeah, and from a growth perspective, Scott Emmerich, I want to make sure I shout him out if it was him that it's always stuck with me. Without margin, there's no mission.
yeah.
So talking about profitability is not a bad word, and people always think that like when you're in the healthcare space, you're not allowed to talk about it. Well, that's crazy. Like you have to. You got to keep the lights on. You got to pay people. And if you're referring out 80% of your patients, whether you see one new patient a day or 10, you're referring 80% of those out. If you could keep one of those a week, that's an extra $250,000 in revenue per
It's
year. And
crazy.
you're not going to find new patients. You're
Right.
just talking to the ones you already have. That's crazy to me to think about. So if you, God forbid, you've got 10 offices and you see one patient a week instead of referring that patient out, it's easy. And you don't have to worry about your ROI. You don't have to worry about your lead capture generation and what it's costing you. They're already there. You're already seeing these patients every 6 months. They're the patients that are already scheduling for you for new patient exams. If you're doing a comp exam and at the end of that comp exam, you're not talking about ortho,
Hmm.
is that a comprehensive exam? That's my question.
Yeah. Well said. Very well said. So we kind of went down the path of ortho, perfect fit ortho. I want to shift back to a little bit of your entrepreneurial journey. So this is the first company that you started, right or wrong?
Yeah. Second, it's a disaster. This has been the most stressful of them, I'll tell you. But I mean, it's incredibly rewarding. We're learning so much as we continue to grow. We're in over 24 states now. We're in 2 provinces of Canada. So we're continuing to grow and grow and grow and grow. And I genuinely think that within 5 years, you're going to have your traditional orthodontists and your traditional OSOs that are doing ortho and they're doing the Herbst appliances and surgical case and all that type of stuff. And you're going to have GPs that use companies like us. I think because it is something that ortho can get out of hand fast in a practice. If you're going it alone and you are seeing some success, now all of a sudden, if you're seeing 60 patients total a day, well, now you got to add in an extra 3 a day for your ortho checks and your this and that and the other. So you can reach a capacity very quick. So I do think that this is the future of how things operate. But to your point, no, this is not my first time in the entrepreneurial space. Hopefully, this is my last time though. I think when Perfect Fit's done, I want to watch Ohio State football and golf.
That didn't sound like a bad life. But tell me with this one, or even with your last, what was surprising to you? Like what kind of misconceptions did you have going in? And have you used mentors and other resources this time? I think I know
Uh,
the answer.
Tons of mentors,
Yeah.
tons of mentors. I bother almost everyone that I know at ungodly hours when I'll think of something or have questions or I want to bounce an idea off someone.
Yeah.
The one thing I've learned, I thought I would have done a better job of compartmentalizing or trying to keep some semblance of balance between just Jay Hogan and Jay Hogan and Perfect Fit.
Oh, that.
That's been the biggest challenge for me. I also know that I'm kind of like a dog with a bone with anything, so that's kind of challenging for me. But to the converse, I have learned to start leaning on other people and trusting their ability to do the things that I would normally be doing, which is making some of my hair stay brown instead of gray.
Yeah. And it's really hard to separate those two things when you're passionate about something. I think I am big on boundaries. Like, take the time for yourself, shut it off, make sure you've got certain hours for notifications because, unless someone's going to die, which is unlikely in the case for you and I think it's good to have some time to let your brain not be touched by certain things. But those are also the hours when some of your creativity kicks in about your,
Hmm.
right? So it's not, don't talk to me about that. It's give yourself the space to be creative with what might be your next move.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jamie, have you seen the show Severance?
Now,
Okay. So, yeah, and this would be interesting for your clients, some of the people that watch the show.
yeah.
The 10-second synopsis says it's about a guy who goes to work, and every time he gets in the elevator, there's a small chip in his brain that turns on, and Jamie at Polaris has no idea what Jamie at Polaris outside of Polaris does.
Oh,
So
boy.
basically your conscience is split in two.
Mm,
Because work Jamie, all her whole life exists on all she knows is when she's out of the elevator and when she gets back in. Still could be you could be gone from work for 2 weeks, but when you come back to work, it feels like you were just there.
okay.
So it's very interesting. The whole point in all that was sometimes I wish I could just sever for just a few hours.
Yeah.
But I've gotten better. I used to have a Bluetooth speaker in my shower so I could answer the phone while I was taking a shower. I've stopped
Hey,
doing that
no.
100%.
No. I equated to, is this life or death? Mm,
Yeah,
no, this
yeah,
can,
that's fair.
yeah. Showers are,
But I have a question for you. It doesn't. So let's say you get a call from someone
yeah.
and it's work related, but it's like, I don't know, whatever time. You said you're good at boundaries. How do you not think about that though for the next 6 hours? Like, what do they want? What do they need? I wonder if it was important. I,
I will I will tell you, um, sometimes I do think about it, but I'll also tell you that with age comes the ability to create harder boundaries for yourself and stick to them.
so you just hit 32 and now your boundaries are are real
Yeah.
solid. Okay, I
A
get it.
couple decades, but it really does happen. So, yeah, for me, that's just kind of been how it's been. Um, but I think you really do have to give yourself time to be creative about your business rather than working. And we had just preached about this on a recent podcast. Like, get out of your business, get out of it. Like, step away, whether that's a few hours a day, overnight, whatever, shut things off at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever, and don't get notifications and give yourself the time to be present in your life. And sometimes that's where your best ideas are going to come to you. Just,
I love that.
yeah. Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on. How do people reach you if they want to reach out?
LinkedIn. I'm everywhere, good, bad, or indifferent on LinkedIn. You can go to our website, perfectfitortho.com. Reach out to me there. I'm easy to find.
Awesome. Well, loved having you on.
I'll never get away with like robbing a convenience store or something. That's for
No,
sure.
no, hey, I have red hair. I get blamed for everything, so yeah, there's no hiding. There's never been any hiding. But we
Fair.
appreciate you. Thank you for coming on today, and I look forward to seeing you again to try out some wings. We can
I
do
love it.
yeah. All right, to
Thank
all
you.
of we love your questions, so keep them coming, and we'll keep delivering the content that you ask for. As always, if you want to learn about any of our Polaris expert advisory services, or maybe there's a topic that I haven't covered yet that you want to hear about, you can send us an email to info@polarishealthcarepartners.com. And be sure to go over to our website at polarishealthcarepartners.com, where you're going to find weekly articles to grow and support and mentor your healthcare business, along with access to all podcast episodes, events, and a whole lot more. Thanks so much for being a loyal listener and subscriber. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a colleague and be sure to leave us a rating on any of your favorite podcast platforms. We'll see you on the next episode of the Group Practice Accelerator podcast.